And we are following what is expected to be an announcement from the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office into the recent shooting involving a state trooper and a protester. Now, this is a story we've been following since it took place early last week on Constitution Road and Bouldercrest Road near Moreland Avenue. I want to give you some of the details and background as we wait for this press conference to begin. Now, the press conference is expected to kick off at 10:30. I wanted to hop on here with you guys a little bit early just to catch you up on the latest of what we know. So let's get into that while we wait for this press conference to begin. So this is going to be from the District Attorney's Office of DeKalb County. They said that they will be providing an announcement into the shooting, specifically the shooting at the site of the Atlanta Public Training Center. And as you can see, they are currently setting up. So we'll go through some of the background of what this is all about. This took place last Wednesday, just a week ago, near Constitution Road and Bouldercrest Road near Moreland Avenue. Now, according to officials, Georgia State Patrol troopers and other law enforcement agencies were conducting what they say is a clearing operation near that area where this shooting took place when a suspected protester, they believe, disobeyed verbal commands, then allegedly opened fire on officers and troopers. That's the latest word from police. Now, law enforcement at that time returned fire, and the 26-year-old protester, his name was Manuel Tehran, he did die at the scene. Meanwhile, the trooper that was shot in the abdomen area was taken to the hospital, was taken into surgery and later the ICU, and is recovering. Now, since then, we've been taking you through the building tension around this facility, and in a press conference we took you to last week on this platform, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, who is leading this investigation, said that this shooting was tied to the growing tension around the controversial Atlanta Safety Training Center that is expected to be built in that area of Constitution Road and Bouldercrest Road. Now, following the incident of the shooting, we also brought you to a protest that took place over the weekend that escalated when a police vehicle was set on fire, an APD vehicle, and several businesses were damaged. Now, we have the latest on that and the details on our website, atlantanewsfirst.com. In the meantime, what this press conference is focusing on is that shooting that essentially started this week of building tension that we've been following and bringing to you, that shooting on Constitution Road, injuring a state trooper and killing a believed protester of that area over the Cop City area, the training facility that is going to be built there in the future. Now, talking about that controversy and why this has been an accumulation of protests and disagreements and criticism, this is a location of a public forest, and there have been concerns brought up from critics of this training facility that the possibility of building a training facility of that magnitude in this Southwest Atlanta location could lead to increased police brutality in Black communities surrounding the Wilani Forest and bring environmental destruction to ancestral lands. Those major arguments coming from the Stop Cop City movement and other supporters of this Stop Cop City initiative. Now, on the other hand, police are saying that they are intending to go forward at this time with the building of this police training facility, of this public safety facility, and they are continuing on with that initiative. So as we follow the developments of this story, we're going to be taking you here momentarily to a press conference from the District Attorney of DeKalb County, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office, saying they're going to be making an announcement into the shooting that took place last Wednesday involving a Georgia State Patrol trooper and a believed protester of that Cop City area, that name that was coined for the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. So we have a lot to catch you up on. Right now, we are waiting moments from now to hear from the district attorney. I did want to give you some updates while we were waiting for this. Now, days following the incident that we saw, 6 people were arrested on domestic terrorism charges. That took place after protesters took to downtown Atlanta in response to the death of Manuel Tehran. Now, those individuals do face charges of domestic terrorism. Among other charges, 4 of the 6 that were arrested were denied bond because police and prosecutors say they were from out of state. Now, 2 of them, a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old, were granted bonds of $350,000 and $450,000 due to their ties to the state and due to the fact that they were not deemed a flight risk. So we are following those developments as well. I'm not sure at this time whether that protest that we saw over the weekend will be mentioned in this press conference. What we do know from the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office is that they're going to be addressing the shooting that took place in DeKalb County on Constitution Road near Moreland Avenue, that shooting that set off this cascade of growing tension. So let's tune
in. I am Sherry Boston, DeKalb County District Attorney. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm here today to announce a decision related to my role in the officer-involved shooting investigation associated with an incident last week at the site of the future Atlanta Public Safety Training Center, located at 1327 Key Road in unincorporated DeKalb County. First, a review of the facts associated with this case. On the morning of January 18, 2023, during a multi-jurisdictional operation to secure the site and remove trespassers, a Georgia State Patrol officer was shot and critically wounded. He was transported to the hospital for life-saving care. The alleged suspect in the shooting, Manuel Tehran, age 26, was also shot during the incident and pronounced deceased at the scene. An investigation into the facts, evidence, and circumstances involving that shooting is currently underway. Typically, when there is an officer-involved shooting in DeKalb County's jurisdiction, the investigation is conducted by a law enforcement agency, generally the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Upon completion of that investigation, the findings are then forwarded to the Office of the DeKalb County District Attorney for review and charging determination. That charging determination includes a decision on which charges, if any, should be pursued and against whom based on the facts, evidence, and circumstances related to the matter. The case is then presented to a grand jury for indictment, if appropriate. In the alternative, our office may also determine not to pursue charges and essentially close the case, as dictated by the facts, evidence, and circumstances surrounding the case. Either way, I take the review and charging determination associated with an officer-involved shooting very seriously. It is a decision that carries a huge level of responsibility and a duty to protect with integrity, transparency, accountability, and fairness, which brings us why we are here today. After careful consideration, I have decided to voluntarily recuse the Office of the DeKalb County District Attorney from the review of the investigative file and potential prosecution of the officer-involved shooting involved in this case. Although there is no legal conflict with accepting this case upon completion of its investigation, I believe recusal is the best course of action related to this element of the joint operation. My decision is based upon several factors, including our ongoing involvement in the multi-jurisdictional task force charged with holding those responsible who commit crimes and ensure a safe environment in the process. The overreaching reasoning for my recusal is that it is simply the right thing to do. It avoids the appearance of any impropriety and is consistent with the mission of my office and our efforts to instill community trust and confidence in our criminal justice system. As such, we have formally notified the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia of our voluntary recusal in this matter and have requested the appointment of an independent prosecution agency. I have said before that the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office should be a standard bearer for prosecution and for our community by doing what is right without fail. I stand by that philosophy today. We remain committed to working with our partners on this task force as we endeavor to bring this operation to a safe, successful, and peaceful resolution. Thank you for your time, and I'll open up the floor now for any questions.
I know AG Carr has been vocal about working with your office and other offices, Fulton County, with some of these arresting issues related to this situation. Can you talk a little bit more about why recusing if you guys have been collaborating with the state?
Well, let me be clear. The recusal is just for the investigation into the officer-involved shooting and the death of Mr. Turan, which is a separate matter altogether. Even had we not been on this task force, that case would have traditionally come to our office. So I reiterate that we remain committed to the Joint Task Force, and we will be involved in the prosecution of all the cases that are happening here in unincorporated DeKalb County.
Good. So if there are future acts of violence and riots that happen that could fall under domestic terrorism charges, is it fair to say that your office would investigate and if charges are warranted without charges?
Absolutely, without fail. We remain committed to the prosecution of any and all cases relating to the Atlanta Public Training Facility. The only recusal we are making today is specifically into the officer-involved shooting investigation.
So you remain on the cases with the seven protesters that have already been arrested?
Yes, absolutely.
And none of them are going to be tied to the shooting at all?
I cannot comment on the facts of that part of the investigation, but what I can say again, this small piece, which is a large piece, the investigation of the actual shooting of Mr. Turan will not be, we will not be involved in that.
Can you elaborate on, you mentioned a couple factors of why you're recusing yourself or the DA's office. And part of that you said was the relationship with the community. Can you just highlight that again, why you feel like this is a crux point right now for DeKalb County, for law enforcement, for the DA's office, and why being independent of this or recusing yourself from this is essential?
That's a great question, and let me just start by saying that predates even this case. Officer-involved shootings have become a conversation that really requires a commitment to the community and for the trust to believe that when an officer discharges their weapon in any circumstance, that will be investigated thoroughly and completely so the community feels that action was justified, warranted, and appropriate. And if not, that officer be prosecuted under those circumstances. So officer-involved shootings in themselves. When I ran for DA back in 2016, I assured the community that I was going to take a certain approach on these cases so that whatever the outcome yielded, that the community could feel that it was done with transparency, accountability, and fairness. And so I'm sticking to that mission today, and this becomes the first case, the first officer-involved shooting case that this office has recused from since I became DA in January of 2017. And it's because I believe being a part of the multi-jurisdictional task force puts us in a position that it's very possible that community would feel that we were involved in it and therefore could not investigate our own. And that's fair, and that's why I'm choosing to voluntarily recuse today.
Do you think since the GBI was involved in that task force as well, that they can objectively review the facts of this case?
That's a decision that is a question for the GBI to make, but what I can say is our roles in officer-involved shootings are very different. The GBI is tasked with the collection of evidence. The prosecuting agency is tasked with making a decision as to whether charges are warranted or whether the shooting was justified. So we have two very different roles, and I'm looking solely at the role that the prosecution agency plays in this investigation.
Do you fear that this might send the wrong message to the agitators, that they feel, hey, if we don't have the county prosecuting attorney's office, recusing herself from this case, that it might encourage them to go back out there and commit more acts of violence?
No, actually just the opposite. I hope that what this instills with protesters on the ground is that this will get a full, fair, impartial, and independent look, which I think is important for our community and for everyone that is mourning the death of Manuel. Every day we deal with people in the community that have experienced trauma and pain. And when I meet with anyone, whether it's victims, families that we're not charging any accountability with, and I have to explain to them our investigation, I always start with saying, we did this independently and we did this fairly. You may not like the outcome, but I want you to always believe in how the investigation happened. And so the message I send is, I intend for the investigation to be impartial, and therefore I am removing myself from the situation.
But to be clear, the GBI is still conducting the investigation. They're just referring whatever they find to someone different.
Yes, that is correct.
Would that be the state AG or bring in outside?
No, as you may be aware, the law changed as of July 1st. All conflict or recusal cases go directly to the Prosecuting Attorney's Council, and that council is empowered to now assign conflict counsel in every case. So it is not the state AG.
Okay.
Do you think the decision to charge the activists arrested in December with domestic terrorism escalated this current situation?
I can't speak to the motivations of anyone under these circumstances. All I can say is that we will continue to follow the law and the evidence and the facts as we see them and make appropriate charges.
In terms of prosecuting, it's a little bit confusing because you're involved, DeKalb County is involved, the state AG is involved, potentially federal agencies could get involved in prosecuting. It's DeKalb County, some stuff happened in the city of Atlanta, and Fulton County. Can you just break down how these different jurisdictions will work together, who takes the lead, and what the timetable is for prosecuting, especially those who have this domestic terrorism charge?
So again, I can't speak to specifics on the individual cases, but what I can say is this: multi-jurisdictional task force are nothing new. We actually do them quite often when we have facts and circumstances that allow individual agencies to bring together their expertise in making sure that our community is safe. We work oftentimes, many times, with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI, the GBI, the ATF, the DEA. I could go on and on. As you know, Atlanta is a large city, and we have many law enforcement agencies, both state, federal, and local, that are tasked with keeping us safe. And we work together every day to make sure that that mission is followed. All right. Well, thank you very much for being here, and you all have a great day.
And that was the DeKalb County District Attorney recusing herself and her office from the shooting involving an officer at the location commonly known as Cop City. That was that press conference that we just took you to. Again, just to summarize what was just said, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office will be recusing from the shooting investigation that injured a Georgia State Patrol trooper and left a protester dead. Now, if you wanted more information, we are updating you on all of our digital platforms, including AtlantaNewsFirst.com, where the latest on this story that we've been following for over a week now and the developments that we've been bringing to you can find on here, as well as the full press conference. Again, for those that might have missed the beginning part of this, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office is recusing itself, the DA specifically recusing herself from the shooting involving an officer in the location commonly known as Cop City. That is the future site of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Facility. Again, if you wanted more information, we're putting the latest out to you on the Atlanta News First app and AtlantaNewsFirst.com.